Hello, and welcome to another meeting of the Lotus Council. So what we have here today is a deck for, wait for it, a historic Brawl deck. So historic Brawl is a format that's sometimes available on Arena. Not available most of the time, unfortunately. You can do direct challenge for it, but there's not really any formal way to play. So the way it works is it's Brawl, which is 60 card singleton with a commander, and the cards in the deck are limited to the commander's color identity. And the cards that are legal are the ones that are available for historic on Brawl. So there's a lot of different sets, including Jumpstart, which is really fun. So what I have is Eutropa Twice Favored. So if you're not familiar with Eutropa, it's a 2/2 with Constellation. So whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under my control, I can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That creature gains flying until end of turn. So you might imagine I have a lot of enchantments. So this is the base package of enchantments that I'm including. So I have Hydra's Growth. Super gross because it doubles the number of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature. Verdant Embrace gives it +3/+3 and makes a green Zapperling creature token at the beginning of each upkeep. Curiosity, so whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, draw a card. Feral Invocation, it's got Flash, which is nice, and gives the creature +2/+2. Arachniform, enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has reach, and is every creature type. Ominous Seas, whenever you draw a card, put a counter on Ominous Seas, then you can remove 8 counters and make an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, or cycle for 2. Then these are the fun ones. So there isn't commander damage in Brawl. If it's 1v1, you start off with 25 life. If there's 3 or 4 players, then you start off with 30. But you have commanders. So I have a whole package to basically enchant and trigger Eutropa, but also kind of mess up their commander. So Casmina's Transformation, creature loses all abilities and is 1/1. Charm Sleep, taps the creature. Mystical Subdual, it causes the creature to lose all abilities and get -2/-0, so it could still be big, but losing those abilities is a huge thing for them. Then Frogify, loses all abilities, is a blue frog with base power toughness 1/1. And then since you see a fair amount of ramp in Brawl, like you do Commander, Confounding Conundrum. So when it enters, you get to draw a card, but then whenever an opponent has a land enter, if it's their second or more than second land, they have to return a land to their hand. So they're not ramping. Very great at shutting things down. And then, of course, there's Kiora Wins the Game. So if you're not familiar, turn 1, you create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. Then you tap all their permanents. They don't untap during the next step. And then 3, you gain control of target permanent and opponent controls and untap it. So I've been running this in my Eutropa standard Brawl deck on Arena. And the number of times I've been able to get a hold of Turgid or the Lantern is just amazing. People will instantly scoop at that point. So Kiora Wins the Game is a great card. Then I have the 2 Inscriptions. These are great spells, utility spells. I have a series of Draw and Scry spells, so Opt, Anticipate. This isn't really a draw, but it is card advantage, and Deliberate. Now, since I'm in blue, this is the color of Nope. So Rewind. This is a great one because you counter target spell, but if you can untap up to 4 lands. So really great. Saw It Coming. This has got Foretell. So you can have that just hanging for the right possible moment. Pay 2, counter that spell. Keep Safe, it counters a spell that targets a permanent I control, so people are going to be trying to kill my stuff, because once Eutropa gets going, it gets going. This also lets me draw a card. And then Thassa's Intervention. So this gives me a chance to get card advantage or counter a spell. So I'm a huge fan of multi-purpose spells in both Brawl and Commander because, you know, you've got a limited card slot, you are trying to do things, and it really helps to get things done. Next, Lazotep Plating. So a mass, which is great, but it gives myself and permanents I control hexproof until end of turn. Really great. Ram through. If the creature has trample, so it'll deal damage to a creature, and then excess goes to the controller. Really a great card. And then Overcome. So creatures I control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So you might have noticed I'm making a few tokens, and from there, this pumps them all and lets me attack. Utility artifacts, so God Pharaoh Statue. This is a nice tax effect. So spells your opponents cast cost 2 more to cast, and at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. It is a little bit more expensive, but you'll see I do have some ramp in order to try and help this. And then Rogue's Gloves, whenever it equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So pretty good for that card draw advantage. Now onto the ramp. So Omen of the Hunt. So this basically flashes in and you can search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield and shuffle. You can sack it to scry. Of course, Cultivate, then Gold Vein Pick. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and when it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. This is an absolute beast of a card. Honestly, I would say people need to get it if they can, because it's super cheap now, but it's very good as a way to make treasure. Then, of course, we've got Arcane Signet, which originally was created for Brawl, so it's Brawl legal. We've got Arasta of the Endless Web, so whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, I'm creating a 1/2 green spider token with reach. Destiny Spinner, basically making my creature and enchantment spells so they can't be countered, and then I can pump a land to make an XX elemental, where X is the number of enchantments I control. So that's a really good thing. Then Renata Call to the Hunt. Each other creature I control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So if that's out and I'm making tokens, the tokens are a bit bigger. And then Calafi, Blood to the Sea, which basically makes it so creatures and enchantments I control have spells your opponents cast that targets this permanent costs 1 more to cast. So going back to that taxes thing. So trying to protect my stuff as best I can. It is a fairly small creature package, but the whole point with this is I pump Eutropa and attack with Eutropa and deal the damage, because it gives the counter and gives it flying until end of turn. So flying is a great evasion. As far as land goes, it's a pretty straightforward mana base. So I've got Temple of Mystery. Enters tap, but I can scry. And then it taps for either color. I've got Vine Glimmer Snarl, which if I reveal a forest or island, then it enters untapped. If not, it enters tapped. Command Tower, which was again in the Brawl precons for our Throne of Eldraine, so it is Brawl legal. And then I have a Breeding Pool, which is not a great proxy, but I do have a Breeding Pool. I just, for like the super expensive cards, like Shocklands are becoming, this at least gives me a chance to checklist it and run the card in multiple decks without having to swap it in and out. And Wizards provided this very, very cool official proxy card. I mean, you can print it out on a printer, or you can just use a pen like I did and scribble. Then we've got islands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 islands, and 8 swamps to round out, or 8 forests, excuse me, to round out my mana base. So I play a standard version of this deck. It does have a few more creatures, but it basically runs enchantments and enchantment creatures only. And it's so much fun to play. People don't realize what's happening. And if I can get Kiora wins the game out, I win the game, either because my opponent scoops, which happens on Arena, or because they have nothing to block with and I hit them and I've stolen their commander or their best creature that they have on board. Now, Arena 1v1 is very different than 4-player. So we're hoping very soon to have some gameplay with Historic Brawl on paper. So be on the lookout for that. Well, thank you for joining us for this quick deck tech today. If you're on the lookout for cards, please check out our sponsor over at Geekified. You can find them at geekified.us. And yes, I bought the cards for this deck from Geekified. So you can get them, you can put them together, and you can have fun. So thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to know when we're meeting next, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell notification, and you can join us in our Discord. So again, we want to thank you all for spending your time with us, and we hope to see you at the next one. So thank you all for coming, and the meeting is now adjourned. Hope you have a fantastic day.